what Jupiter is doing in 2023. Well, first of all, Jupiter is one of our gateway planets, which means that it is after our personal planets, which are, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and of course, the sun and the moon. So after those personal planets, we have Jupiter, and then we have Saturn. We also have Chiron there, by the way. And those are called the gateway planets. They're in between the personal and the outer planets, the transcendental, the moving beyond in consciousness, moving beyond in the evolution of your soul. And those outer planets, so beyond Saturn, are Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So we have those gateway planets guarding the in-between. And I really feel that, they are making sure that we learn enough, that we master ourselves enough, that we know who we are, and once we get the green light from the gateway planets, so to speak, we move on, and our soul gets to evolve in a much bigger and higher, quicker sense than ever before, because these outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, have been discovered recently. Pluto was discovered around the Second World War. Neptune was discovered like at the beginning of the 19th century. So around the when they invented the camera. And a little bit before that, I think also around the 1800s, was the discovery of Uranus, and that's when we found electricity. So it's only been roughly 150 years that we know about these outer planets, and that they are more heavily influencing our human life experience on Earth. So these gateway planets as Jupiter and Saturn are really important to look at, because it's where our soul is grinding and getting ready to move beyond more than it has ever been able to do, maybe. So Jupiter is a gas giant, right? It is huge. It is one of the biggest planets in our solar system. Of course, the sun is bigger, but it is huge, and it's filled with gas, which is why it's called a gas giant. So that's kind of important to know the astronomy, because it says a lot about the symbology that is used in astrology. Because it's a gas giant, it means that Jupiter makes everything bigger. It inflates everything, and it's an amplifier. So often it is seen that Jupiter is beneficial, that it is a good influence. It's looked at being positive and bringing optimism and growth to whatever it is touching. And there's an element of joy and enthusiasm and humor where Jupiter is involved. But since it's an amplifier, since it makes everything bigger, right? It could also potentially make things bigger that we do not per se consider to be positive. So, it is important to not overlook that it makes everything bigger, whatever it is. So, but ultimately, Jupiter is about higher education. It is about, you know, gaining a higher perspective, and, you know, therefore it's about learning, but it's also about teaching, you know, like being a mentor, wanting to help others through your own wisdom. Gaining wisdom is really important with Jupiter, gaining knowledge, and it is about thinking it through, in the sense like philosophizing about the knowledge, you know, because it's so much about philosophy and higher education. I feel that it's not talked about much, but that Jupiter is about ethics as well. So something that's really important in the coming year, to gain ethics, understanding of ethics, what could be wrong, what could be good, what could be the positives, the negatives, and weighing that out. You know, Jupiter is about justice and law as well. So I think that's why the ethical side of it is relevant. But, you know, it's about adventure. It is about broadening your horizon. It's about exploration, discovery, travel, going beyond, and just learning about cultures and languages, and enriching your knowledge about everything in the world. And that freedom aspect, you know, it just loves to roam around. It's that wanderlust energy. And yeah, so that's Jupiter. And at the beginning of 2023, Jupiter starts the year with 1 degrees of Aries. So look at where 1 degrees of Aries falls in your chart to see what Jupiter is making bigger, where you might have an easier flow with, you know, the subjects that you have with the Aries energy, which means that it's relevant to look at which house it falls in. So then you know what Jupiterian topics might be highlighted for you, might be easier to work with for you, because there is this idea that Jupiter brings more flow and easiness and some harmony, some luck, and, you know, an easy streak to where it is in the sky. So in whatever house it is, or whatever planet it touches, it just brings a little bit more of an oomph, a little bit more fortune, you know, some blessings that Jupiter can bring. And since Jupiter, you know, was the ancient ruler of Pisces, it also means that there is the element of spirituality, and the ultimate highest perspective of the divine is within Jupiter as well. But currently it rules Sagittarius officially, which is a fire sign. So Jupiter is really comfortable at the beginning of 2023 when it's in Aries. It was already in Aries before last year, but of course it went retrograde and went back to Pisces at the end of 2022. But at the beginning of this year, 2023, it's it is back in Aries. So usually it takes Jupiter approximately 1 year to orbit, a sign. But this year, Jupiter is super quick. So it's going to go through Aries in an immense speed, so fast. So it starts at 1 degrees, right? But by the time it's in May, it is all through, well, half of May. In 5 months, it is all the way through Aries. So we're going to see this year a change of signs. Jupiter is going to move from Aries into Taurus, and that's going to be really significant. That change will happen May 16th of 2023. But first, let's briefly talk about what Jupiter in Aries is about, right? It's actually really funny that it moves so fast through Aries because Aries is exactly that. It is fast, it is direct, it loves action, and it's to the point. It just goes after its goals and is just like Jupiter, really enthusiastic and just passionate and energetic moving forward. So the Aries element to Jupiter is going to make, wherever it is in your chart, make you braver, fearless, really confident, and brings a more independent approach and a very direct approach. Yeah. So that's really nice. It's highlighting self-identity and highlighting what you want to take action in, what do you want to fight for. It's that warrior element, it's that warrior energy of what do you want to fight for. So yeah, it's where you're probably leading in your life and just being more courageous than ever, where you're potentially more dominant and where you're able to stand up for yourself. And this enthusiastic, fast fuel of energy is going to be beneficial to go and get something quick in your life where this Aries energy falls. So yeah, that's Jupiter in Aries in a nutshell. Then it's going to move into Taurus, right? Again, that is May 16th. Now, this is really relevant because when I looked at the chart, at sort of the birth chart of Jupiter in Taurus, oh my God, it is pretty intense because that birth chart is marking a period of quite a lot of tension, and there is just so much going on in 2023. But I will talk about the chart in detail a little bit later. Let's just first focus on what is Jupiter in Taurus, right? Now, this is really interesting because we've had the North Node, which is our life's mission, our higher expression, our life goal, what we need to learn, our ultimate goal, so to speak, has been in Taurus for approximately, let's say a year. Yeah, in 2000, when the year starts in 2023, it has already been in Taurus for a year. So we've had a couple of eclipses in Taurus. So Jupiter is bringing more to that area, more to that Taurus area of where we've had these eclipses and where our ultimate life's mission for this, at least coming year, sort of well, actually coming 6 months of 2023, because the North Node is changing signs, and you can see more about that in the eclipse video of this course. But so Jupiter is going to highlight that North Node energy. And we've also had Uranus in Taurus now for a couple of years. So it is going to come close to Uranus, but the exact conjunction is going to happen the next year, which means 2024. But so it's highlighting the North Node energy, it's highlighting the Uranus energy, and therefore sort of highlighting the eclipse energies of 2022. So that's important to note. So what is Taurus then about? You know, where we've been struggling with the last year, and more thanks to Uranus. Well, it is our physical needs. It is the embodiment of our values, which means, you know, what do you find important? What brings you joy? What brings you pleasure? These questions have been on the forefront of our lives. What is close to your heart? You know, these are really important questions to answer in this period. And the most important question you could ask with Taurus is, you know, what matters to you? What is valuable for you? What is important? So there are two elements with that. It is literally, materialistically, what is important to you? So finances, possessions, stuff you want to accumulate, you know, strong foundations, literal foundations, so house, you know, good income, an independent source of income, right? Stable amount of money, so to speak. But the other side of what matters is more philosophically, and, you know, that obviously is something that Jupiter will bring to the table even more. What matters to you? What is important to you on that level? So what is valuable? And that doesn't necessarily mean a dollar sign or a euro sign or whatever. It's not per se money. So then we look at what's the other side of Taurus. What can we value that isn't materialistic? Well, it is an earth sign, so it has everything to do with Mother Earth, with grounding. So nature, of course, anything natural, the simple life, you know, farming, agriculture, plants, back to basics, but it's also the question of surviving, how to do that. There's the independent element, and since Taurus is ruled by Venus, it is always about what you love as well, and always that financial aspect of value. So asking yourself how you want to structure your regular day-to-day life. How do you want to accumulate income? How can that be more independent, more secure and safe in this changing world? How can you be more aware and protective of your resources? So those things are going to be really important with the whole Taurus energy. But I guess that Jupiter in Taurus is going to add value to whatever we feel that matters to us. And since Jupiter is an amplifier, remember, it makes everything bigger. So this could potentially bring some relief to the financial sector for a little bit. You know, adding some stability perhaps, but with the North Node there and changing signs, maybe it will enhance the instability, and actually making the financial system, you know, enlarging its problems. We will have to see what direction it will go, by looking more deeply into the chart. But so Jupiter in Taurus is saying, you know, educate yourself on these Taurian topics, gain information, wisdom, knowledge around the, you know, nature, the natural, but also around your own philosophies on what matters to you. How to work land, how to be more independent in all kinds of ways, independent resources, you know, be it financial, be it, you know, nature, you know, nature's resources, food, land, water. You know, we know that these topics are going to play in the world. So pretty relevant now that Jupiter is in Taurus then. It's just highlighting, you know, our possessions, our resources, but, you know, it could also bring some more sensuality into our lives, and more joy, and more, perhaps more attention to, you know, more to our love life potentially, and building strong foundations with that. But since it is the amplifier, right, making everything bigger again, we should watch out for being overindulgent. You know, you don't want to go overboard with either pleasures or possessions, or food, or, you know, you be careful with exaggerating anything Taurian. We want to stay more practical and more realistic with this, but we can use that Taurian drive and determination and persistence to flip the Jupiter energy into a fortunate energy, right? Making everything more easy with these Taurian topics. So, you know, topics of security will be enhanced. We want to be sure to be consistent. We want to make sure that we focus on what is essential. Yeah, you know, this transit could just bring more value into your life, and hopefully more self-value. So self-worth could be something we could really gain if we do, you know, the required work. We really want to learn more about these Taurian topics, and question these Taurian topics. How we can gain more from Earth, from nature, from a stronger sense of self, from more self-love, from more love with others. And, you know, we will probably be thinking more about our possessions and money, and how to be really wise with these topics. So yeah, there is a potential with this transit to increase value in whatever you find important. So it has a lot of potential for good. But when we look at the chart of May 16th, when, you know, Jupiter is at 0 degrees of Taurus, that is a bit complicated. First of all, Jupiter moves from 0 degrees of Taurus to 15 degrees of Taurus in 2023. So May 16th, it is at 0 degrees of Taurus, right? Here you can see their chart. And there is a big red cross in the chart when Jupiter enters Taurus. This is pretty interesting. This is called a grand fixed cross. The reason why it's fixed is because we are talking about the fixed signs. So the signs involved in this cross of tension is Taurus, Scorpio, normally Leo, but here we're talking about the last degrees of Cancer, and Aquarius. So a grand cross is made up of 4 squares and 2 oppositions. So there's extreme tension and a push-pull in all these 4 directions. So it's kind of a lock. It's like it's in lock, right? With this amount of tension, it's really hard to move forward. Also because the nature of a fixed sign is about holding on and about, you know, attaching itself to an outcome or an expectation or a desired goal. So the fixed energy finds it really hard to let go, and it finds really hard to bulge and, like, you know, be flexible. It's kind of a bit inflexible and really stubborn. Doesn't like change so much. So, but something has to change, says this grand fixed cross. Something has to be pushed and brought to attention, or otherwise this lock is going to just create so much tension that it will force some kind of change. So if we look at Jupiter at 0 degrees of Taurus, we find the North Node right there at 3 degrees. So they're together. As I said, this means that it amplifies anything about the North Node in Taurus. You know, so this is a very divine timing. It has to, you know, the focus is on our mission on Earth. Opposite that, you know, of Jupiter, we have, of course, the South Node in Scorpio, also at 3 degrees. Now, noticeably, we have in this tension, we have Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And then opposite Pluto, we have Mars at 27 degrees of the sign of the Crab. So yikes, these are, you know, Pluto and Mars are heavy hitters. When Pluto is involved in a grand fixed cross, that is major tension, major push for transformation. Yeah, this is really, really heavy, really, the problem with this grand fixed cross, that it's not just a day or two. This is a lasting grand fixed cross. It's going to last for many weeks, which makes it so interesting. So an opposition of Mars and Pluto is already intense enough. You know, they're like brothers. Mars used to rule Scorpio before Pluto was discovered. But now Pluto rules Scorpio. So they both have that scorpionic nature, you know, about power. It's a very power dynamic. It's about action, death, rebirth, regeneration. Pluto wants to go really deep and bring the whatever is underground to the surface. About the Aquarian energy of, you know, the digital age, about inventions, about technology, you know, topics like that. And then we have Mars deep in an emotional world, in emotional motivations, you know, struggling in the water world. We have Jupiter birthing itself into Taurus, bringing a highlight to that Taurian energy. So this is a locked in energy, and just so much tension that, you know, we will really feel this. The next day, May 17th, we have the moon next to Jupiter and the North Node in Taurus, which means that we will really feel this so heavily on May 17th. And, you know, the moon represents the people. So, you know, we could really feel a big effect on a mass of people, and it could be about nature, it could be about death, it could be about wealth and power dynamics. When Jupiter enters Taurus is just is something to watch out for. And this grand cross is continuing the 16th, the 17th, the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 22nd, 6th, 27th, 28th, 29th, which means this grand fixed cross is continuing at least since the day Jupiter enters Taurus, May 16th, and at least till May 29th. Now, by May 29th, Mars is, well, let's say another date first. So May 27th is another thing to write down in your calendar. That's when Jupiter and the North Node are exactly together. So this is where, you know, our life mission is highlighted, and we really need to question what matters to us. Now it's like almost like a life and death situation thanks to that Pluto Mars opposition, right? We really need to know what matters to us, what brings us joy and love, and follow that path. May 20th is also super important because that's the day that Mars enters 0 degrees of Leo, which makes this grand fixed cross even more intense, because this is then an exact opposition between Pluto and Mars, making it super tension-filled in the sky. So notice that one. And then, right, May 29th, slowly Mars is leaving that opposition between Pluto and himself. So we're talking by May 29th, Mars is at 5 degrees of Leo. But because Pluto is an outer planet, it's really far away, but there's a dichotomy, when they're really far away and powerful as Pluto is, it has a bigger impact. So 5 degrees is normally the bigger orbit we use in astrology, but I want to say that up until Mars being at 10 degrees of Leo, it is still sort of dangerous. So, and that is really weird. It is sort of the same day. So the same day that Mars is at 10 degrees of Leo, right? Leaving that grand fixed cross, Venus is entering 0 degrees of Leo, and that happens on June 5th. So do you see this? Mars is leaving this tension, this immense push and uncomfortability, but then Venus enters. So this grand fixed cross continues. But now, not with Mars. Mars is the really difficult part. Now it's Venus, which is, less difficult, thankfully. But it just means that this tension is continuing. But now in the Venetian Taurus themes, more so than ever. And that is continuing from June the 5th till June 11th. So this grand fixed cross between basically Pluto, Mars, Jupiter, and the nodes is going to crank up the topics of power, of powerful forces being at play. The question between resistance and suppressed feelings, and a lot of setups so that we can transform the energy that is at play, so that we can alchemize and therefore change the situation, the energy, the emotions. A lot of feelings from very deep within us, those suppressed feelings and patterns can come up right now to be solved. So confrontation, anger, great challenges, and frustration are likely to come up around this time. And the idea is to really think about what and how are you getting ahead? What are you doing to strive? What are your motivations? Where are you going to? The importance to regard the ethical questions, and how you feel about where you're going, and how to do that, how to get where you want to go. It is about expressing your energy through creative and positive changes, of course, ultimately. It's also about the effort to affect others with this Aquarius energy, and it being with the nodes of fate, and also, of course, Jupiter means that, we need to transform the conditions within us and around us. So striving to get ahead by working hard, and this could be about, psychological or physical threats, questions of domination, dominion could come up, new drives, new goals could be the case here. and just we need a creative transformation, and the energy is going to be serious. You know, a lot of confrontation with others could take place. Ego energies and the will to dominate is a topic that is involved here. We might be tested on the security of our own ego, and just you could expect some tension with people in your life to eventually create powerful shifts, right? Just creative change, and the drive to succeed is here. The reason is to improve, of course, where you are and where you want to go. And the question of power and success is high. So think about your own power and where you want to succeed. The ambition to, you know, achieve great things could actually also have a lot of potential with this, you know, intense manifestation power, but it will come through, you know, feelings of frustration and just that dire need for change. This is a locked energy to get us higher and further than usual. It's about repairing and restoring and rebuilding our goals, our position in nature, our relation to nature, you know, that tension between artificial and natural, about the digital and the simple, the organic, you know, and the inorganic, and the great need for ethics. Again, same themes as with Pluto entering Aquarius, right? If you notice, you can hear more about that in the Pluto Aquarius video. It's interesting that that is something that's going to interplay with many planets here involved. So just a few dates, right? Just to break it down. This grand fixed cross actually starts around May 11th, when Jupiter is at 28 degrees of Aries. It starts to enter this grand fixed cross with Mars and Pluto and the nodes. Now, Friday the 12th of May, Jupiter is at 29 degrees of Aries, and I would say that this is a critical point, you know, where there's just a lot of potential anger and aggression and this intense will to get something going, to go after this new goal, and immense, you know, courage to do so, and to go after what is fair, and more just great passion to follow your own lead, you know, to lead your own life. And May 16th is just not only the day that Jupiter enters Taurus, which, you know, because it enters at 0 degrees of Taurus, it squares immediately Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So it's just a really lot of tension, right? But just before it does that, Jupiter is at 29 degrees and 50 minutes of Aries, which is the eclipse point of April 20th. So approximately a month before this date. And that was a solar eclipse, so a new moon eclipse. And it's significant that Jupiter touches this position within a month after the eclipse. So the themes, whatever will happen around April 20th, is something that will be flared up again May 16th. And then, as I said, this grand fixed cross gets intenser and intenser because on the 20th of May, Mars enters Leo, and now it's extra intense because 3 of the 4 fixed signs are at 0 degrees, which is, of course, Jupiter at 0 degrees of Taurus, Leo, Mars in Leo at 0 degrees, and then, of course, Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So this is a major day. And then slowly, Mars increases, of course, in Leo. So this is just ongoing. It starts at May 11th, and then it just goes on. And it goes on, I guess, till May 29th, because that's when Mars is at 5 degrees of Leo. Arguably, it could still continue after that because, because Pluto and Mars are in opposition, and technically sometimes we could feel it till 10 degrees, 10-degree orbit. This is a bit technical. So, but definitely till May 29th, this grand fixed cross with Mars, with Pluto, with Jupiter, and the nodes is going to continue. So we're talking about a good 2-week window here. But then, June 5th, Mars has left the critical point, but then Venus enters Leo at 0 degrees. And here the grand fixed cross continues again, but this time with Venus in the lead. So now we're talking about more about relationships, about love, about money, about our values, about our self-worth and beauty, stuff like that. It's a little bit of lighter energy, thank God, and that will continue, I guess, for a few days, which is June 11th is when Venus is at 5 degrees of Leo. And then this grand fixed cross is basically coming to an end. So May 11th till June 11th is a whole month of intense tension between our personal energy, our body, which is represented by Mars, right? Our motivation to do something, our will to fight for something that we find important, our passion, our drive is put to test by heavy hitter, powerful, intense Pluto, bringing questions of humanity and digitalization into play. And then we have Jupiter and the North Node enhancing our natural life, our relationship to Earth, and our mission here. And then, of course, the South Node is where we need to release the powers, the toxic power play, the abuse, the fears, the emotions that hold us back. So this is a whole month, a good 4 weeks of a lot of tension. Just when Jupiter enters Taurus. So that's so interesting that the move of Jupiter is critical here. And because this happens when Jupiter enters Taurus, we are talking about a little bit of a longer time as well, because Jupiter is in a sign approximately a year, right? So definitely till 2024. So the birth chart, this intense manifestation of a grand fixed cross, this grand desire and need, dire need of huge transformation and like a death of a cycle and the beginning of a new cycle, this rebirthing, that massive upheaval and change is necessary, and is going to take actually all through the transit of Jupiter in Taurus, because it's birth chart, right? May 16th is the birth chart of Jupiter in Taurus. So this is a longer story than I intended, because usually Jupiter is the light force, and it's like, you know, whatever it touches is more easygoing, more optimism, more flow, more chances and opportunities, you know, sort of more good luck, I suppose. And also, of course, making bigger or whatever it touches, right? But, you know, where usually the Jupiter topic isn't that complex. As you can see in this story, it is for Jupiter once it enters Taurus and is at the end of Aries as well. So this is a time to watch out and to write in your calendar and to track what this could mean for you and what this could, you know, entail globally. We will see what that means. But that there is a great tension is for sure. So thank you for listening, and see you in the next